the owner of the DeLorean time machine over here behind me. So Matt, why don't you get and explain a little bit about your car and more details about it.
Thank you. I do own this DeLorean, and it's made to look like the time machine from Back to the Future, Part 2. It's my daily driver. I've restored the entire car from when I bought it. It was a regular stock car. The chassis and the frame was in real bad shape, and I had to do a frame-off restoration. So that had to be done first, and it took about 7 months to do. Then drove it for a few months until the following winter, and then I turned it in, started working on the time machine. And I made this time machine reversible, so I don't harm the quality and the stock value of the car. So it is reversible, and no holes were drilled into the body to permanently fasten anything down. I made all this based off of pictures. I have a coworker that worked on the restoration of the movie car, and when they were doing that restoration, and he gave me these photos before I had a DeLorean. So he had a DeLorean and told me about all what's involved in the time machine. So I knew how the movie car was put together, but he's like, you gotta have a DeLorean to work with first. So then I got my DeLorean, and then already knew what I wanted to do and how to do that. Oh, this does open up like in the movie, Mr. Fusion. It does have the Part 1 base to it with the plutonium reactor, and from here up is the Part 2 and Mr. Fusion reactor. In between Part 1 and 2, they had a plate that covered the entire plutonium conversion first. So they put this on top of that plate so it hid all the Part 1 parts. But I didn't want to do that. I want to have the visibility of Part 1 and 2, so I took off the top half lid of the Part 1 plutonium lid and put this Part 2 conversion on top of Part 1. So you can see the combination of both. All these items you see, like these tubes, these boxes, these capacitors, they represent the movie car parts on it, but they're not identical. They just represent the shape of that part. You have these hoses here, this crossover pipe here, the heatsink here. These boxes here, these blue boxes, they're called Flux Boxes. These are probably the most accurate part of the car that I made. They're hollow aluminum, so wiring does go in and out of them. And these are called flux bands. These are different than what the movie had solid tubing rather than this conduit. I chose this conduit because it's a lot easier to form or bend perfectly parallel together. So there's aluminum backing side, and I tack welded all these together, and then I put the screen mesh over that, so it gives it a very similar look to the movie, but it's not 100% movie accurate. This part here I would say is the most accurate, and this part here is pretty close too. It's a very rare extreme part, and that's called the Wormhole Emitter, and nobody knows where that came from, but that's kind of the center ornament of the exterior of the time machine hardware. Also the same for the front. The front has the same flux band principle.
You have Marty's jacket and his hat.
And his hat. I even have Marty's letter, just like it was in the movie.
Yep, Lou's Cafe for the return address on it.
Yeah.
I noticed your dash on the front here.
Yeah, this is not identical gauges, but it's the gauges I had to work with, but they do a pretty good job of it. This was the glove box, and they opened up the glove box and just stuck this panel in there. And,
if I remember right, effectively that was your nuclear fuel gauge.
Yep, nuclear reactor.
Rotagens.
Yeah, that's accurate, but this one's not.
One other thing we noticed up here yesterday, when I was filming the car yesterday, is it's signed by Christopher Lloyd.
That's right.
Doc Brown.
And there's proof of it, him actually sitting in the car doing that. And that's the only picture of me with him that we have at the time.
Yeah, you don't always think about that stuff at that moment, do you?
No, it was quite a very intense moment, a very short moment. Security everywhere and people everywhere.
One thing that I was told yesterday was this is fully functional. All your dates and so on.
Yeah,
here,
that's right.
Where you want to go and all of that.
That's right.
So if you could demonstrate it, let's say I wanted to get back to, well, when I was born, let's say. So go ahead and show us how that all works.
All right, so what year was that?
That was 1977.
What month?
May.
Oh, that's my May. Okay, so you gotta start numerically. May what?
Let's just put May 25th.
Okay.
That's not my real birthday, but it's close enough.
There we go.
Oh, it even beeps too.
Yeah, it beeps, and then it also say last time departed also. We're going to go to the year 2887. And now, but your last time departed is still 1977. And he also made a digital speedometer that will ramp up to 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, I see now that up on the dash over there. Those are like recorders, or if I remember right from the movie. Didn't he have a tape recorder?
Oh, they never showed in the movie every function or every part of the car items, and even on the back wall. Just the flux capacitor and the computer, but nobody really knows what that is. So I created this myself to make it look like a black box recorder.
Right.
Just for fun.
So I thought it was the tape recorder that Doc Brown was using when he first started at the mall.
Yeah, he was using a video. Yeah, that's what Marty's job was a video camera.
Oh, right, it was a video camera. Okay,
yeah.
Never mind then.
And then later at part 3, he's on a tape recorder at home, but here in the car, he never did anything. I wish they did more interaction with that. So I have these switches here that turn on, off these lights. A few of these switches up here do function as something like the exterior lights, exterior fans, the front cooling fans and the rear cooling fans that are in the exhaust towers. So let's see. Now these are stock window motor switches, and my headlights switches are behind here, and my air conditioning. So this does move up if I have to get out of the way.
It still needs to be a functional car.
Yeah, and this is wedged in here just fine and snug. This is not in the movie. I wish I could figure out what to do with that, but that's my rear view camera view. So I can actually see out behind me.
Oh, okay.
But
I was wondering what that was.
Usually I leave it there, but it's like, it's too big to fit anywhere. I thought right here, but it blocks a lot of my vision. It's really a narrow window of vision in this car. And this switch turns off and on that. So if I turn this off, this shuts off, flux capacitor shuts off, I turn it back on. It just resets to a generic date. But you could buy this switch industrially of what it was intended to be, but it doesn't come with a Y handle or a clear cover. The movie one had a clear cover, but it wasn't this magnifying glass type case. I put a flexible magnifying glass sheet plastic in here to make it look like bigger inside than it is outside. So it kind of looks like it's a very distorting, bigger than normal interior of the switch, but it does the same job as a industrial switch with just bus bars type contacts on it.
Right.
But I made it for hardly anything. It's a lot cheaper than the stock.
Well, it obviously isn't using a lot of amperage for, in reality, what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. So, got that digital display there. But mostly everything, and I have speakers behind this passenger seat, which is not in the movie, but I do have it hooked up to my MP3 player, and I can play my sound through here, and not so much through the car speakers. So I didn't mess with the stock radio at the same time.
One thing I noticed too, just thinking about the movie, in the scene where between 1 and 2, when he come back and he get Jennifer.
Yeah.
There is no room for 3 people in this car. There's barely enough for 2.
I wish I could see how that could have happened, but I know Marty and Jennifer are probably not big enough people, and they probably were overlapping each other just enough. But
I always thought the car was cut in half to be a movie, a movie prop.
They made a car in part 1 called the C car that is made to be cut in half for the head-on shots and the head dash shots. But the scene where they showed Marty and Jennifer, it was from the outside of the car, so therefore they really were together in that car. When I first got this car and drove it, all of a sudden I felt different than where I am sitting right now. Like, okay, I'm in this moving vehicle, this low to the ground. Everything is so small that I thought it would be. As you watch the movie your whole life, you're like expecting it to be just a little bigger because movies make it bigger than life. And now I'm in this real car, and I was like, this is it, this is how big this part is. This is smaller than I really thought it would be. And you shut the door, all of a sudden you're in this like pilot seat of an airplane, and it feels that way, like you're flying an airplane on the road. Especially a time machine, you get all, nervous and like, excited at the same time.
And you regularly drive this car in the summers when the weather's nice up here.
Yeah, I always drive it daily in the summer. I drive all the bugs out of it to know what needs to be replaced, and now it's becoming a fully reliable car with new refurbished parts or upgraded parts or whatever it needed. It's got it now.
See, in the end, it is still a DeLorean. Most people may not realize, although I did a video prior to this video here when we were talking to Mike down in DeLorean Midwest, the availability of parts, about the actual car itself. Now, obviously, Mike doesn't have any, well, he might have had one, but needed help, a lot of work, any time machine DeLoreans down there, but he did have a boatload of regular straight stock DeLoreans, and parts are still very available. They are obviously still very much drivable cars. Some of them are all original. You wouldn't want to drive them on the stock NCT Goodyear tires. They're literally as hard as hockey pucks.
Yeah.
But he can get them up to running where they're absolutely perfect and good shape to be driven, and you drive yours regularly, which in my opinion, I like that better, the fact you still drive the car. But you did a handful of things to it to make it a little bit more drivable from factory, which there is some, you mentioned to me earlier off camera, there's some controversies with a way you got your car to run a lot more reliably and more, maybe not efficiently, but at least easier to operate and not have to worry about any issues. And I'm talking about the Bosch K-Jetronic fuel injection.
That's right. And the rest opens up. It's easy. Doesn't have any gas struts in it, but it's a little heavier than the flimsy hood. Or
yeah, I imagine so.
So I converted to a carburetor. This is a Holly carb, like a 2 or a 320 or a very small 2-barrel carburetor. And I had to make my very own air intake, a custom air intake. Now there are guys that make them, or you can get a Renault air intake that could fit this engine block, but then you got to kind of fuss with the way the carburetor fits to it. So learning from others and what others have done, I thought, well, I want to make mine a little bit more convenient in some ways here. So let me get my flashlight too.
So you had to custom make the intake.
Yeah. So the advantage to this, there's a lot of advantages. Okay, this engine only uses 7 wires to run. You can get to the valley of the engine a lot better than before. You can get to all the clamp hoses, the cooling water pump clamp hoses that loosen up over time, especially when it gets cold. I can get to each tightening screw. I can see if there's any coolant leaking into the valley, which is the death valley, which will kill your engine if you don't take care of it, or if it rots away the hollow cavities, and you can just have a visual of what's going on down there. I can get to my distributor cap, I can time it, I can change the plugs, I can change the router, I can get to it. You would have to take apart the entire air intake or fuel system with the fuel injection just to mess with that. And this one has a manual choke cable, and it's integrated into the time machine, but I have full control over the choke, and I got the carburetor tuned to summer temperatures, so it runs and it purrs just fine. Actually, I would think a little better than it did before.
On the other video, Mike started one up. It pulsed. He said it pulses for a while before it starts to open. All right, hit it.
It's just stock exhaust. 12,000 mile car that's really been gone through, and it's in nice shape. Typical for them to hunt until they get warm. It'll do that for up to 5 minutes depending on the temperature.
We did show in part 2 of that video why it does that when you first start them up cold.
Yeah.
Obviously here you see he's updated the coolant recovery tank here.
Yeah, that helps.
Those are made out of plastic, and by this time they're old and brittle, and it's a pressurized system. That's not good.
Yeah, exactly. That was something I needed.
And you also said you updated the exhaust on this.
Yeah, I changed the exhaust. I made my own headers and muffle tank or canister. Basically, it's just a funny can that will muffle the sound, so it's nothing fancy, but it's independent.
It doesn't have that crossover any longer.
No, that crossover really was a headache. I mean, it hindered horsepower and freed up some engine temperature, and that's just one less thing to worry about. And no catalytic converter, but
well, that was a big issue with DeLorean. If you follow any of the history of the car, the fact that, if I remember correctly from other documentaries that are out there, and I encourage you to go look at it, DeLorean thought that they weren't going to have to catalytic convert these cars for the U.S., but then some law changed it because something to do with the fact they didn't have a large volume of cars being built. Then, of course, the EPA changed the law. They had to put a catalytic converter on a car that honestly was already underpowered to start with.
Yeah, that slowed it up. It had a carbon emission canister also in the sidewall. Well, I took that out, which freed up a lot of hoses that I don't need. So the vacuum hoses are a lot fewer than before.
It still is a car from the 80s, so it still was a vacuum hose nightmare.
Yeah, oh yeah. Electric, low pressure fuel pump and pressure regulator. It's one fuel line. Boy, it's nice. It's like one of the best satisfying decisions because now I can rely on it to go long distances and not worry about what's it going to do or what if it needs this or that. And I just feel like I am in more control over what this car is doing.
How many miles are on this car?
Now it's 86 or 85,000.
Well, for a DeLorean, that's actually a lot of miles. Most people don't drive them like that.
Oh, I know, and I put 30 or so on it myself in the last 5 years.
You want to have a custom car, you want to drive it around, you want to enjoy it, you want other people to enjoy it as well. You're definitely going to go down a road and people are going to slow down as they pass you or speed up as you pass them. I guarantee you this car has got to be probably one of the most photographed cars going down a road in this area. Well, apparently there's more DeLorean owners than I thought there were, but you don't see them driven very much. So as far as I'm concerned, I certainly encourage anybody to buy a car that they want, make it the way they want it, and then enjoy the heck out of it. No DeLoreans were harmed in the making of this video.
Not this one. But one of the feature on the time machine, there's a glass window behind this panel. The movie car had that removed to make room for all this hardware. Well, I didn't want to go that far and remove the glass because it's such a pain to watertight it. So I just put this aluminum cover plating over it. And when I installed that on there, I'm like, this is kind of plain. So I decided to put all these brush swirly patterns in the aluminum so it gave you the aircraft look to it also. So it's not such a plain, boring plated panel. And so all these brackets, all these parts are fastened from the inside out, so nothing was drilled into the body to hold them on.
Yeah, I've seen how like the brackets are here, hooked from the inside and then up and around over the car.
Every bracket's like that, very custom fitted. This bracket's got a weird shape. It's one bracket. It goes from this side to the other side, so it follows the profile of the body, which does this weird shapes to it, and it was very tedious to get those angles to match, and it's using the bolt hinges of the engine deck to hold itself down. So no holes were drilled in that area either.
Leave a comment below for you younger YouTube watchers or viewers. I'm willing to bet they don't know what that is.
Even the movie car, I mean, they had 3 round items there, but they weren't these items. I thought, well, I have these items, and I'm going to have fun with those. And actually, every time machine builder or fan likes that idea better than what the movie had.
And there are plenty of those running around in a garbage somewhere.
With the stock DeLorean, these armrests tend to be fragile, depending on what month you got the car in. They made these entire panels one piece later on, but earlier on, this was a separate piece. So this tends to pop out. They're only riveted, in pop riveted, not much holding it on. So when mine came apart, I made mine out of aluminum and screwed it in and turned this into a little glove box for your necessity tools that you gotta have when you have a time machine. You never know when you need these wrenches. Your basics go in there, flashlight. So far, I've only figured out how to just Velcro it on, but I don't know how to really keep it tight other than that. But this is a functional part of the armrest that I don't know who else has done that.
Well, if you already broke it from sitting on it like I was warned against down at DMC Midwest, may as well make it more functional than it already was.
Yeah, take something broken and make it better than what it was.
One other thing Matt wanted to talk to us about was Wisconsin Star Cars. And explain.
Well, we have a local Wisconsin state movie car club that's all movie cars. We have my car and Knight Rider car and Ghostbuster car, Jurassic Park cars, both of them. You know, the Jeep Wrangler and the Explorer type. And we have a Herbie car and a General Lee car. So we're all local, well, not really local, but we're statewide only. So this is only Wisconsin movie cars that we have come to know as from each other, and we get together 2 or 3 times a year and in all parts together. So I'm just representing them, and we're just a very unique, cool group of movie cars.
See, one of the things I've always wanted to do, and I've thought about it, is build cars from movies. Meaning, like, some of the stuff that I'm a fan of, like, maybe not only movies. Let's be honest, I drive a 64 Chevy Impala on 100 spokes. Yes, it's a 4-door, but it does have that straight out of Compton, Eazy-E, Dr. Dre look to it. Another car I like from the movies is from Training Day, the Monte Carlo with the 100 spokes on that car. Another one I like, it's a straight up muscle car, the Starsky and Hutch, the 76 Ford Gran Torino. You got the Gran Torino from the movie Gran Torino, another one of my favorites. From a kid, obviously A-Team, Knight Rider, stuff like that. I always thought about building that kind of stuff. So apparently I'm not the only one. Obviously I have the capability of building clone cars from movies or TV shows.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, look at the 67 Impala 4-door from Supernatural. I mean, that car right there carried a premium. Usually people dog on 4-doors. Those are the type of things that I can do at my shop also. Obviously, I imagine your guys here with Wisconsin Star Cars, they probably did a lot of that stuff by themselves.
Oh yeah, it's all, each guy has done their own work on their own car. Yeah, I would say almost every single one of them has built their own car one way or another.
So if you're thinking about getting yourself a car that looks like something from a movie or TV show, think about it. You're not the only crazy one, because I've been thinking about it for a long time, and these guys actually do it. Well, as you see, you got the DeLorean right here from Back to the Future, so there you have it.
Yeah, check us out on Wisconsin Star Cars on Facebook. Just type in Wisconsin Star Cars.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
You too.
Good talking to you.
Thank you.